Today I fucked up by showing Rule 34 art to my college class of 200 people. Obligatory. This happened yesterday. I'm studying accounting in school. I fell in love with the subject my freshman year after taking an intro class. Now in my second level of accounting, I resolved to dominate the class by participating in lectures, interacting with the professor and so on. On Wednesday for homework, we had to essentially draw a diagram of the relationship between manufacturers, merchandising stores, and how their financial statements differed. We were told to have our drawings ready on Friday so we could add to them in class. I did this on my iPad using the Notes app. Friday comes along. Around 30 minutes prior to class, I'm in my apartment feeling a little horny, so I open the browser on my iPad and go to Rule 34 to find some art I remembered looking at a few days prior. After I'm done, I switch to the Notes app on my tablet, put it in my bag and head to class. In class, I sit in the front row. Professor asks if anyone has completed the diagram assignment. I raise my hand. She then asks if she could use someone's as an example to explain to the class. Assured that I drew mine perfectly, I proudly offer my iPad to the professor, who puts it under the camera that displays to the entire auditorium. A few minutes in, as she's explaining balance sheets, she swipes her finger across the screen near the bottom to point to something in my diagram. Unfortunately, this switches apps back to the browser. Rule 34 art on full display to the class. Professor freezes and is silent, so is the class. My heart drops and the professor looks over at me and says, how do I go back? I quickly grab my bag, jump up, grab my iPad from the lectern and walk quickly out of the auditorium. On my way out I hear some murmurs and isolated laughter. All the way back to my apartment my heart is pounding. Honestly, I almost cried. I couldn't sleep all night and I never want to go to class again. Too long did not read. Professor uses a drawing on my tablet as an example to the class, accidentally switches apps to my browser, where I was looking at Rule 34. Don't let this silly accident stop you from going to a class you fell in love with. Did the teacher even look angry? Rule 34 of what? This is very important to this story. Nice dick op. GIF. Giphy, L6AHTMYHU 760, downsized. I resolved to dominate the class. Just so you know, nobody like the person who does this, profs included. Participate, don't dominate. I'm studying accounting in school. I fell in love with the subject my freshman year. What the fuck is wrong with you? Today I fucked up by dyeing my hair. Today I, M22, was helping my girlfriend, F21, dye her hair at my house before we went to bed. After seeing how happy she was with her hair, I decided I'd love to join in on the fun as well. Between the low amount of leftover dye, my lack of motivation to dye my hair, and my ability to predict consequences at the level of a 13-year-old chihuahua, I decided to redo the basement carpet. My girlfriend was immediately on board, and I dropped my pants faster than my inhibitions. She slathered the dark purple dye around, making sure to coat every curly, porous hair. By the time she was done, it looked like I fucked Grimace after drinking his birthday shake. I let the dye sit for the recommended 20 minutes, during which the dye permeated into every crease below my waist, before hopping in the shower to get rid of the excess dye. I expected a nice purple waterfall, but instead the water continued to run clear. I grabbed my handy-dandy washcloth and lathered with soap before scrubbing, but saw no difference. I started to panic as I realized my fuck up, and started sanding down my nether region with a speed and intensity never before seen. As my hand blurred past the purple painted pubes over and over, I slowly resigned myself to my fate. The worst part of all is that the dye didn't do much to the actual hair, and instead just colored all of the skin around it. Hopefully in a few days I'll go back to the normal coloration, but time will tell. Too long did not read. My peanut brain decided to dye my pubes purple and now it looks like I paid Barney for the best night of my life. This is the most embarrassing bush since our 43rd president pensive face. For future reference, putting some Vaseline on your skin will help avoid turning it purple lol. Ha. Well written, especially your closing line. It will fade soon. Hair dye only lasts 2-4 days on skin. Take a hot shower daily and run plenty of hot water over the area to help remove it. There is no way the algorithm didn't do this on purpose. Pics. Today I fucked up by opening up to my parents about my ex. So I, 22F, broke up with an ex about 3 years ago. This ex decided that my body was his. I wasn't allowed to tell him no during sexy time. Had to ask permission to drink, smoke, or hang out with my friends, and I wasn't allowed to touch myself. Anyway, I hate him and ran into him at the mall the other day. I wanted to throw my smoothie at him, but it cost $10 and wasn't worth it. I tell my parents about it and they were confused as to why I hate him. I reminded them about how controlling he was, but I never ever told them about the sex stuff. This time I mentioned how after we broke up, he tried to force himself on me while I was home alone. It's still really hard for me to talk about. Long story short, I slapped him and he left. When I told my parents the other day, my dad didn't even look up from his game and my mom basically said, "It's how he was raised. Boys will be boys." As if what he did wasn't something that still affects me to this day. Like his actions are the reason I cannot stand physical touch and sleeping with others. I'm a super heavy sleeper and I would often wake up to him fucking me even when I told him I don't like it. Deep down I knew this is how they would react, and they still don't know everything. But it just really hurts. Too long did not read. I opened up about how abusive my ex was and got a "boys will be boys" response. It's how he was raised. Boys will be boys. And boys can go to jail when they commit crimes against other people. Listening and empathy is such a simple thing to do for another person, but for some reason a lot of people can't manage to do when it counts. I'm sorry for what happened to you and sorry you have shit parents. This is not your fuck up. I'm incredibly sorry this happened to you. I'm not a parent yet, but I sure as hell know I'd react better than this. I'm so sorry you don't have a better support system. You know what? I'm just really glad he is an ex. This whole thing sucks. Huge trauma. I wish you recovery. Sorry to read this. Obviously the food doesn't come from you but from your parents. Today I fucked up. I inadvertently got someone in trouble and now I have female bully who wants to kick my ass. I'm a guy who somehow got on the wrong side of a girl who is now basically my bully and threatening to kick the shit out of me this year. My school will likely do nothing because fights happen pretty often with little repercussions unless it's right in front of teachers. Basically what happened is that I help out in the computer lab and something I did got one of her friends in big trouble. I didn't snitch or anything but I found something suspicious and it got traced to her and then eventually it got out that I was the one who basically caused her to get caught. So, I am tall guy and she is smaller girl so I should not be worried but I have literally never been in a fight. I am basically uncoordinated and terrible at sports and she is an athlete. She also has been in fights, including with guys and she beat the crap out of a guy that is a lot tougher and stronger than I am. So, it's been escalating. I ran into her this summer and she basically told me that I shouldn't come back to school and I was gonna get my ass kicked. She was with some other girls and they just laughed and snickered. And #X200B. Too long did not read. I found something odd while helping out in the computer lab that got a girl into big trouble at school. Her friend wants to kick my ass. I think she could. Just tell her that you were desperate to get in her pants and this was the only way to get her attention, but now that she knows you exist, you want to bang. If she still wants to kick your ass, she can, but to be fair, you should get to do something with her ass as well. Make her think you have more dirt on her. Just do 3 sets of push-ups to failure every other day and invest half an hour a week into looking up a proper boxing stance and how to throw a proper punch, you'll be fine. Being taller and being a man versus a woman are both enormous benefits in a physical confrontation. Aim for her nuts, works every time. Dude, you gotta get in the gym, or get a big chick as your girlfriend from the hood.